Okay. I had to do this over again. So, it's really jacked up when you're pretty much more aware at night than you are in the daytime due to insomnia issues. So, thank you for tuning in to Middays with Analytical. It's your girl, Miss Analytical. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to listen to my pilot episode. I call it the pilot episode because this is new, fresh. It's something that I've come up with. I came up with this idea in the summertime to do a segment during the day because I've been out with work related injuries. Yes, injuries, not injury. I said I got all the time to basically do something that would be, quick and fun. I've done the show at night, or I could choose to done in the afternoon or middays. People want to watch entertainment shows at night. People work in the afternoons, believe it or not. Middays I felt was perfect because you have a lot of people who work from home, or I'm gonna be honest with you, aren't working, or are working and they have leisure to where they can listen to segments or at their job, or you have people that actually work on jobs where they're able to walk around freely. Postal workers, couriers, truck drivers, they drive, messengers, different things like that. So for me, I said middays. And then also too, middays is preppy because believe it or not, when you wake up in the morning, many people can be really, 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 really tired. So for me as an individual, I said middays. And I couldn't do the mornings. And I want to say shout out to everyone in radio who has worked and in TV as well, who wakes up at 3 a.m. in the morning to start a show at 5. That is some brave ass shit because I couldn't have done it. So that's why I did midnight. So I want to come to you to talk about other things that I want to do with my channel. I want to take the time out to thank everybody that has supported me through the year. Okay, I've had my channel since August of 2017, and my channel has gone through ups and downs. And I never intended to abandon my channel for as long as I did, but I had no choice but to do it due to the fact of situations involving home and work. That was all. But I would notice visiting my channel that you guys were still watching my videos. And I want to shout out those that watched the Trisha Paytas video involving Will Smith. It was only 2.30 minutes, and you guys pretty much took that video from 1.7 thousand views when I had left my channel to seeing that one. I'm talking about leaving my channel from December of last year and going back on visiting my channel back in, I think it was June. You took that to 2.7. Then between July and November, it went from 2.7 to 7.2 views. I want to say thank you. I really do. Because I couldn't do my channel. I couldn't do it. Those months in between, mentally, it was too draining. Between that and the physical pain, dealing with my neck and my arm, I couldn't do it. So I want to say thank you for that. So the midday experience. This is what we got. With this segment, I'm definitely going to be talking about news. It's going to be current events, but also at times I'm going to be talking about like things, philosophical questions, advice. If you have, I'm really good with advice. If you have anything that you just want to ask, there's one thing I will say. Please do not ask me any questions when it comes to biblical spiritual, religious issues. And I'm going to tell you why. I don't get involved when it comes to religion. I think that is something that you should speak to somebody who was trained to do. The same thing I feel when it comes to medical advice, but believe it or not, medical advice, when you're asking that with a non-practical person that practices medicine, is tricky, but it doesn't become really chaotic, if you know what I mean. Like, for instance, you can ask somebody advice on, like, what should I do when it comes to, like, women's health issues? What should I do when it comes to issues involving, like weight loss? Should I get lipo? Should I get breast implants? I'm having issues with being tired. What should I do? You ask somebody who's a friend, they can give you that because they may have experienced the same thing. But when it comes to religion, everybody, I swear, have different answers and different recipes, because it's not one clear answer. But you got people in the world that feel as though that when it comes to religion, their religion is not just right, it's the only one, it's the only way to live in this world to get to heaven. And I don't want to give out advice to people who are looking and searching for spiritual answers, and I give that advice, and then somebody comes at me saying that I give them the wrong advice and quote the biblical scriptures, and then it becomes a religious debate, and it gets real nasty. It really gets nasty. So I don't have time for that. So you can ask me anything, any questions. I will give you the best advice of my ability. But just so you know, as a disclaimer, I am not a therapist. I'm not licensed. But if it's just all for in the name of, fun, entertainment, or just to like get an idea or something, I'm all for it. So that's going to be part of the show as well. Also, I love talking about entertainment news. If you visit my channel, I just love talking about it. And that's going to be one of the things that's going to be fun to do. Also, I like talking about politics. A fun fact about me is that I was in student government when I was in college. I was an activist. I basically, did protests, before all these people was doing this Black Lives Matter thing. I was out there on the streets also. But I'm gonna say that the way we did things was different to the way they doing things, because we never was trying to trash anything. We was trying to just uplift and actually save our communities. These people, a lot of them, not everyone, but a lot of them are actually going about that the wrong way. And I'm going to talk about that later on. And also, too, I love fashion. I love music. I love the arts. I also will be talking about breaking news stories also, but I won't be coming on early, and I won't be coming on late. If it's something that pops up after the middays, then I'll just break it regularly through my YouTube channel. So that's like a basic idea of things like that. Also too, just to let you know, I also have another segment that's going to be out in my channel, for my channel. It's not going to be pretty much part of the show, but of the midday show, but it's going to be part of the YouTube channel. It's going to be called Always Remember, Never Forget. You can hashtag that. It's going to be a historical segment about things from the past that has shaped us as a community. I'm talking about the Black community in general, but also had effect not just on other people in the country, but also around the world. So that's going to be premiering this week. Also, I'm doing reviews. I love watching TV shows, movies. So I'm going to be doing reviews. You voted for it. Our Kind of People is the show I'm going to review, followed by Power Book 2 Ghost. Also, another segment I will be doing is honoring Black YouTubers. Whether you're a huge YouTuber, whether you're a small YouTuber, itsy bitsy YouTuber, or a YouTuber that has like 5 digits worth of subscribers, every week I'm going to start giving you guys your flowers, because I feel that YouTube hasn't recognized you all. With the shenanigans of certain YouTubers, I feel like it's really changing the brand and it's not looking good. It's really sad when somebody such as Charleston White could say the stuff that he says and be honored and fucking celebrated. Then you got, you know, the residential clown, Hassan Campbell. you know, the brand is tanking when a person who can do the stuff that he's doing and not get arrested, get away with it, and his art, forgive me, and his artist ends up shot and he breaks the story. Okay, hold on. Okay. So everybody out there that's listening, this dude basically had a breaking news segment about his artist Five Guard. He's the only artist that he had. And on the show, basically, he pretty much was crying about it and tearing about. He wasn't crying about it. He was blaming his artist. So you're going to blame your bread and butter because he wasn't listening to you when you were trying to teach him about the streets. No. It's too much clownery going on the YouTube streets. Like I said on my video yesterday, the whole algorithm scheme is jacked up. It's jacked up. So, and by the way, I'm going to talk about those two today, this evening. That's going to be on the docket. And speaking of dockets, I will be doing segments on my channel involving legal issues, legal cases. Those of you who've been rocking with me for years, you guys know that I have a degree in paralegal studies. Okay. I love law. I love cases. My mother worked in the court for 30 years. Okay. And my mother worked in Bronx criminal court. Interesting thing, that's the same court that hosts Hassan Campbell. It was in his district because, when you get arrested in your county or when you commit a crime in your county, you got to go through the Bronx. So it's a possibility my mother could have typed up his PSI. I'm going to get to that later. But interesting point, his best friend that he claims is his best friend, Tafiq, you might, for those of you who are from New York, shout out to all my peoples from NYC. You might remember back in late 94, early 95, there was a shootout in the Bronx in front of the courthouse where a person was resisting arrest and basically going like cowboy style and shooting the guards, shooting the police, but mainly shooting the court officers. That was Tafiq. And that made the newspaper. That was Tafiq. Okay. Now, interesting is that he mentioned that on Sonetta TV. Hassan Campbell never mentioned that. He never mentioned that. Makes you really wonder. Also, moving along from that, I will be talking about legal cases, all kinds of legal cases that set precedents in this country and also change the way laws are handled, the way people view, not view, like different things, such as, the iconic Roe v. Wade, the one that no matter how much you talk about it, nobody's going to be happy with it. Also Miranda rights, give you a clue of certain things. Also, let me see, because, journalism, free speech, because our government is changing and we don't really know it because we're so cognizant of trying to get through COVID and trying to find a job and get money and feed our kids and also, take care of families. Another thing also is that I feel as though, and this is just me, I feel as though you know what? I'm not going to say it. I'm going to save it for one of my shows. I'm going to save it. Okay. So this is one of the first topics I want to talk about, because this one is something that I brought up on my channel yesterday. And I want to shout out Pharaoh Speaks, because a couple of weeks ago, he basically hit me to the whole Breonna Taylor situation involving Kwame Brown, basically saying that she brought it on herself. I want to take the time out to say this. As a person who studied cases and studied law, and her case will be one of them that will be on the docket. The docket, you know? I got a name for that coming up. I'm going to hashtag it as soon as I finish with this live. So she will be one of them, because there is a law that was passed called the Breonna Taylor's Law, where if you have a warrant, you must announce it before you enter the premises. No-knock warrants are no longer legal, and many states are adopting that. And I think it's a great thing, but it's a shame that it costs a woman's life and in order for it to be passed. Now, reason why I mentioned Kwame is because Kwame and others like them, who think like them, it's a problem in our community. You know, we have this thing where if something happens involving police brutality, we're quick to say, well, you know, he or she brought it on himself. Okay. Now, the issue has always been Breonna Taylor had a boyfriend. The boyfriend sold drugs through her house. Her house was a trap house. The trap house became recognizable in the community. The boyfriend leaves her house. The house is no longer trapping. So allegedly, people are saying that Breonna Taylor was a trap queen, pretty much. If you ever look at drug kingpins, drug queenpins, they always make sure that they apprehend them and capture them while they are alive. Notice it? While they are alive. Okay? Now, if she did this, which from my research, she wasn't. It was the boyfriend, and the boyfriend basically was using her house as such. She kicked him out, and then he got upset because she dumped him. She was moving on with her life, and this is not from some, this is not like I'm not speaking this on Black feminist terms, but this is like the research I did last year. She pretty much was, becoming a civil servant, and she didn't want to deal with a dude that wasn't really adding anything to her life. He couldn't really trap successfully, and he got arrested. And instead of, chucking up the deuces and, just being happy for someone for just, living a legitimate life, he basically snitched on her, or not snitched on her, but basically lied and said that she was trapping also. So this is the information I got. Now, if you got some other information, okay, whatever. But here's the thing. No matter what information you have, it doesn't condone how she was killed. It doesn't condone that. Her passing was untimely. And this is the problem that I have with Kwame Brown's thinking. And it's very much coincided with what his girl, Candace Owens, said. And this is why I want to shout out Pharaoh Speaks. I want to shout out Machiavelli TV, Machiavelli Mills. He's a YouTuber I just happened on yesterday. Or you guys, Baba TV, Baba Rasan Live. When it came to talking about Breonna Taylor, I want to shout out other YouTubers who've done so. Torian Rain, Nicole's View. You guys basically were sharp, and you really stuck your guns and pretty much spoke out about not just police brutality, but you called out the people in our race that side with white supremacist viewpoints. And Nicole's View did a wonderful job when it came to calling Candace a grifter, because she said she only believes that Candace believes the stuff that she says. She's only doing it for money. I kind of agree with that point. I think she believes it. She may not believe it thoroughly, but I believe that she believes it most of the time. I would say she believes it 75%. So moving along, every week a Black YouTuber is going to be highlighted. If you have any suggestions, you could throw them out. You could throw the names out. I will say there are two people I will not be highlighting. That is Tasha K. That is Hassan Campbell. I don't know if Charleston White has one. Another one that I will not be highlighting, and his name is right on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. Yeah, I can't think of it. But he's a big YouTuber. Oh, Anthony Brian Logan. I'm not doing it. I'm not. He's a big YouTuber. I'm not doing it. Yeah. So, and Brandon Tatum. Hell no. So, moving along from that, I got to talk about my city. I got some disturbing news about my city. So, the New York City Council, a place once upon a time I aspired to work at. I aspired to become a city councilwoman that wanted to run for office. They did some bozo the clown shit. These motherfuckers passed a bill that was introduced by a man named Idanis Rodriguez, who is Dominican American. He's a city councilman from Uptown. Now, if I'm not mistaken, he's term limited because he entered the city council in 2010. So this is his last month being in the council. So he might be probably going to state legislature, assembly, whatever. But the dude has always had leftist politics. Now, he introduced this bill to where illegal immigrants will have voting rights, such as like the citizens and residents of New York. Now, if you know voting, you got to be a citizen 100%. So you got some dummy liberals, and I'm going to get to the dummy liberals. They passed the shit. So now, starting next year, illegals can vote in the election. Now, here's why I'm pissed. You guys are illegal. Y'all ain't supposed to be here. It's not even like you here on a student visa and you applying to be in this country to be a permanent resident. You guys aren't even trying to be legally here. You guys are here not because you want to be Americans. You want to take over from within. Now, getting back to Idanis Rodriguez, okay? I'm going to give y'all some tea, and I'm going to tell y'all why I'm giving this tea after I give y'all the tea. Back in 1989, 1990, he was a student at City College of New York. And he and a couple of other students, shout out to CCNY, that's my father's all matter, and my cousin's all matter as well, and my aunts. He was an education major. And for those of you, y'all know a lot of y'all familiar with Ashada Shakur. And Ashada Shakur was a CUNY alumnus through BMCC. And at the time when she was apprehended by the New Jersey State Police for, the whole kerfuffle that happened out there, she was taking classes at CCNY. Another man named Guillermo Morales, he was a political prisoner. Now, from my understanding, I've read that he was Puerto Rican. Some say that he was Puerto Rican of Dominican descent. That one is up for debate. But what happened is these two had subversive views, and they were what you would say communist socialists, okay? So he and his people fought to have a room in CCNY dedicated to them and their struggle called the Morales Shakur Center. Not the Shakur Morales Center, but the Morales Shakur Center. So what happened is the administrators caught wind of it, and they had a lovely, large room, a room that could have been actually used for people, and a center that could have been dedicated to the Harlem community, not the Hamilton Heights community, but the Harlem community pertaining to Black Harlemites. They could have used that as like a Black culture center, a Black studies center, because the department by that time had been diminished through Black studies. Instead of that, they seized that room hostage, and the administration at City College, they were actually trying to pretty much seize and stop them from doing it. But what occurred was that the whole BS with Puffy happened later on in 91. And this month is the anniversary of that, and I will be talking about that because there's firsthand experience, firsthand accounts that even though I wasn't there because I was only 8, I know people who was there when that happened. And I know people who were supposed to be there when that happened. That's a whole nother stuff. I'm going to talk about that. So because people were casualties there, and not just in terms of passing, but in terms of living with these injuries, CUNY had to shell so much money out and go through litigation. So because of that, they let those people rock in that building. So Adonis, I believe, is socialist. I believe he might be an unhinged communist, but the dude basically just destroyed New York City in terms of politics and government economics as a whole. Because the reason why all this is passing, oh, and by the way, they actually stayed in the building in that office for over 20 years. But when the new president, it was a female, she got them out. They just one day went in there and just cleaned it out, locked them out, and turned it into another center. So he has a history of basically doing stuff subversive. He doesn't like America, and he hates the country, and he wants to tear it down. But here's what I'm saying. People like that, why are y'all here? What's really going on? Why come to a country that you don't like? And why basically be in an environment that you can't stand? And you bring all these legals here, and they're not trying to like basically work and try to become citizens. They just want to be illegals and basically take things over. Here's the tea on that. It's because the shit is hidden handed with government and religion. Okay? Politics, religion, and subversiveness. Okay? Now, many of these illegal immigrants are not only eligible to vote, but they ain't never, ever going to have to take the vaccine. Okay? Because your girl, Jen Psaki, said that shit. Now, I'm going to give y'all some even more tea. Okay? They got money that was signed by Biden. You know, the same money that we trying to fight for our reparations, they got money, honey. Oh, and another thing too, what they also getting, they even get scholarships that our children been trying to fight for. Oh, and by the way, you know the reason why your child can't get a job because they have to know Spanish. You know, like I want to be an engineer, they graduating and they couldn't get a job. That's because they are putting them in position to get those jobs. Okay? So I'm going to tell you how this all played out. 25 years ago, many of these people were coming in under their parents, and they came in position as whatchamacallit. They were the children of immigrants. Many of these people that immigrated to this country have ties to socialism and communism. And what they did was they penetrated through the government. And they did it with the help of 44. 44 and 46 helped them. Okay? And I will be talking about some exclusive tea that I will be talking about in a separate video about how this shit happened, and I witnessed it firsthand. Okay? These children got into government, local, state, and federal. And many of them are policy advisors, and they push this agenda. Many of them are also connected to the Catholic Church. They're also connected to the Jesuits. Okay? Yes, I'm saying it. See, why I'm talking this shit is because I want to give you a sense of ideas and I want to wake your ears and your brains up. Many people got caught up with 44 and you got complacent and you went to sleep. But you woke up when 45 basically arrives. When 45 came, it's like the spark in y'all, just electrified your whole body and brains. And you very much went into, fight mode, which is a good thing. But here's the T. A lot of stuff that Trump signed, and this is going to kick a lot of y'all's minds. Y'all going to be shocked. Because I seen this with my own eyes online. It was beneficial to the Black community. That's the real fucking tea. You see, many of you all got caught up, which rightfully so, in the way this man was speaking. Now, I'm not a Trump fan at all. I want to make that clear. But the thing about it is that Trump basically was willing to work on issues, issues, particularly with the reparations. He was willing to sit down and talk about it. He was willing to sit down and even have a person head reparations, even though we knew the shit was going to be shamish. But at least he was willing to say, I acknowledge you all as the people that built this country, because without you all, this shit would have never happened. Had he gotten well, that's a whole nother thing, because people gonna come to my page tell me he won the election and the votes were stolen. And also, another thing too I want to say is that I don't hate Trump, okay? But there are things that this man did that we as a community, looking through it, we were really, this man, if you look at legislation, if you just go on the White House website, you will see that there was shit that was signed that was not out to get us, okay? This man basically, as a person, now the problem was he had cabinet people that did not like us, but he himself, his whole thing was, I'm getting rid of the illegals. I'm gonna, make sure transgenders don't use hormones while they're in the military, because that's why they turned on him. I'm basically not gonna, give federal money to Planned Parenthood, and I'm basically going to make this country white again. That's what he was really doing. But the question will always be, was he coming at us as far as Black Americans, as far as ADOS, FBA? And for the most part, this is going to cause y'all to bug out. No, he wasn't. But there were certain people in there that was. But this is the thing. His administration was the one that reopened the Emmett Till case and the Emmett Till investigation. And guess what? Last week, the Biden administration closed it. They closed it. Okay? Biden don't care about ADOS. He don't care about foundational Black Americans. Okay? Many of you all voted for him to get out 45. Okay? I would rather have 45 still in office than to have this man in here. Okay? If I had to choose at this point, I would rather 45 in office. Okay? Because at least with 45, I knew that he wasn't going to give $450K to illegal immigrants as basically reparations in a lawsuit. I knew he wasn't pushing for them to basically vote and basically influence our elections. I knew he wasn't going to do that. I knew that he was basically putting Americans first, white Americans. Let's not get it twisted. But I knew that he wasn't going to come at us as hard as Biden is. Biden has a despisement for ADOS and foundational Black Americans because he being not just him being a proponent of the Jesuits. Okay. I'm spilling tea. This man basically is a puppet and he's a pawn. That's the reason why the mandates came. You don't have a job if you didn't follow it, but you didn't get fired. You can't get fired for not following a mandate because mandates are short term. Okay? It's not a law to get anything that you don't want. And I'm saying it just like that. But here's the tea. While you all lost your jobs because in terms of not working and not getting paid, you're put out on leave because you didn't want it. You got people being flown from different countries in Latin America and Asia coming to replace you and will never have to take it. How about that? Will never have to take it because they don't want certain groups of people working here. Because the big thing is to take over this country and unify it with another place to save the church. And when I'm talking about the church, I'm talking about the church, the largest denomination of Christianity. Okay? The one with ties to the Council of Nicaea. I'm talking about the one that basically, gave us Caesar Borgia. I'm talking real shit right now. I'm talking about the one where basically they basically can't get married, They have to abstain from fornication. Okay? I'm talking about that one. All right? They want them to rule because many of them lost money because many people became protesters, Protestants. Many people left them and they lost money because of lawsuits. So the last hurrah is to bring people over to this country that aren't supposed to be here, sit them in their pews, sit them inside their schools, and have them learn and put their money, their hard-earned money, and and by the way, their benefits money that some of us should be getting because we don't have jobs, and some of us should have gotten it due to our ancestors not getting reparations. They're putting them in there so that they could make their pockets fatter. That's what's going on. But here's the real tea. These dummies out here who was protesting, these evangelical Christians who swear that they touched by the Holy Ghost, they know what's going on. They couldn't tell you this. They couldn't tell you this. This is the real tea. Them phony ass bitches couldn't tell you what was really going on. Okay? They're not going to tell you this shit because they don't know it because they ain't touched by the Holy Ghost. Yes, I said it because I'm sick of them. They can't even tell you that. You got dumbass Bevel and Betty, who's basically upset. She crying, her and Edmund, because Trump played them because they can't go to Trump hotel restaurant and basically dine and live a good life because you got to have the mandate according to New York. So he's complying with the mandate, and they're upset because they basically, along with other people, took bullets for him. They went to jail for him. People still facing charges for him. They about to lose their freedom, their liberty. And the best part of it all is no one told them dummies to do that shit. You wasn't out there protesting for mandates. You was out there going at Black Lives Matter before that. You was out there because you went out there and you hate blackness. And I'm going to talk about them in another segment. I'm going to go all in on their asses. And so another thing too is that many people want to fight the mandates, but you can't fight the mandates unless you know the root of the mandates. Okay? You can't fight anything unless you know the root. It's like basically how you going to remove something that's basically causing damage in your apartment. You got to get to the root of it. Once you get to the root of it, of the cause, that's when you can stop it. Same thing with anything that happens in your body that's incorrect. You got to get to the root of it. Once you find a cause, You remove what's going on, and then you basically solve the rest. The problem is none of y'all want to go to the root situation because you think that the real root situation is basically Black Lives Matter. You think that it's communist, which in the case, yes, but y'all think that is communist China. And I'm gonna tell you, communist China is a smokescreen for this shit. They're scapegoating them because they're non-white. The real thing that's going on is basically European. It's basically from Central Europe. That's where this is going on. And the only way the shit's gonna stop is if people speak out about it. Peep game. I'm giving y'all free game right now. I'm giving y'all free game. And the reason why I'm giving y'all this game, if you want to take it, is because this is going to affect the kids because they want to inoculate your children, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, your little cousins, your godchildren. All of them is facing to be inoculated, and it's not going to be their choice. Even though FDA says that you can choose, 46 don't want you to have that choice because he, Ducci, and the man over there and their little cliques, they don't want you to have it. Follow what's going on. Every one of them that's for the mandates, they either are connected to the Jesuits, they're connected, they went to Catholic school, predominantly of them are Catholic. Look at the Supreme Court. Trump put all those Catholics in the Supreme Court, and except for Gorsuch, all of them is following the mandate because many of them, because Gorsuch was raised Catholic, but he's Protestant now. Well, he comes from Protestant family. Well, all of them is Catholic with exception of Clarence Thomas. You could say, I mean, that's a whole nother story. But they're pushing the motherfucking mandates. They're pushing the motherfucking mandates. They're pushing the mandates because they're all Catholic and they all have ties to the Jesuits. And that's it. And they're following them because they were educated by them. And other things too, they got a lot of stuff from them and they're scared. A lot of these people are scared. A lot of these people are afraid. Even people who aren't, even people in our communities, they're afraid. This shit is deep. And this shit is no joke. And the only way to stop this shit, you gotta call out number 46 on his bullshit. Oh, you gotta call him out. Because the shit really was rooted with him. People say, that, okay, yes, it started under 44, but Obama didn't introduce this shit on his own. The shit came from him. And that's the tea that I'm going to bring to y'all. Because the tea came, I'm telling you, I have had so many experiences in my life when I was young. I got experiences to tell. Okay? That's why I said if you had advice on everything but religion, you can talk to me. That's why I said what I said. And pretty much, also, another thing too is that when you look at the Trump presidency and you go back to when your children were applying for jobs, between 17 and 20, your children didn't have to speak Spanish to get a job, except for in one industry, and that was working in an office. But 44th administration is the reason why people such as myself could never work and really hustle hard to really work in offices, particularly in the legal department. In an office, they want those people. And it's a sad reality, but it happened. Under Bush, under Clinton, this wasn't going on. You see, this is why people say sometimes you gotta be careful with images and stuff. Many people voted for Trump because not Trump. They voted for Obama because they really trust him and thought he was better than McCain. But people didn't know 46. 46 is bringing all this bullshit in. 46 brought all this shit in. You know? And it's just a sad reality. But we got to start basically being on an up and up And we got to stop infighting. And those black people, I call them black false conservatives, we got to leave them alone because they ain't beneficial. They ain't. Because as somebody who is not a liberal, I could basically tell you they a piece, they cockadoodle. They ain't good for us. They ain't good at all. Okay? So I'm gonna head on out and get ready to go because I gotta pay bills and everything. I gotta do shit that's important. Sorry if I'm cussing, but I grew up saying the S word in my house, and my family came from a family of ministers and things like that. So it is what it is. But yeah, the only person that's gonna be able to fight this is you. You want things to go back to the way it is because it can. It can. Just go back in time. Think about what happened during World War II. Think about what happened to groups of people who were going into camps based on who their ethnicity was, based on what they were as people. And think about how those people, many of them succumbed. But think about how they always had it in their heart to fight and to make it to see a brand new day. The ones that lived and survived and made it out of the camps, they thought about it because they were determined to go back into the world and be survivors. And many of them not only survived, but many of them basically were able to live successful lives afterwards. But what happened? They basically, at their best, went back to resume their life. They lost family members, a lot of them, but they were determined that this was not going to be the end. And don't listen to sociopathic and psychopathic religious people, particularly those in Christianity. This does not have to be the norm. We don't have to go into a one world government. It's up to us. You can fight this shit. You can fight it, but you gotta have it in you. And you can believe in any higher power all you want. And that's great. But the power is also within you. And this is your girl, MsAnalytical. I'm signing off. Thank you for listening to the first episode with Middays with MsAnalytical. I will talk with you soon, shortly. Later.